'Cause all I did was bow down. I'm just gonna stay still.
Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Hello? Check. Check. Oh, I didn't see you there.
You should so leave that in.
see you there. We were just having a conversation.
That's funny. Oh,
Because it's like,
I think because of
all right, 3, 2, 1. All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I didn't see you there. I'm sorry. That's all right. 5, 4. 5, 4. C. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, Hill City. Hey, Hill City. Hey, welcome to another talk around the table. And today we want to talk to you about weekly rhythms. I know we talked about weekly rhythms at the beginning of the year, and we want to make sure that we update you that we are still doing them, and I hope that they're making a difference in your life. And just to go over what a weekly rhythm is that we are making a plan for our week to base it around becoming the person of Jesus, and a weekly rhythm is important because, like, hey, how do you actually become like Jesus? Like, we can want to, and we can say, oh, I'm gonna try to be like Jesus, and in our head it means like, oh, we're just trying to be good, or we're trying to be whatever is that caricature of Jesus, but it doesn't work. Like, we've tried that many times, and so we actually have to put together a plan. We are like Jesus in prayer and fasting. Jesus said to pray and fast. I'm going to pray and fast. We're going to be like Jesus because we're going to serve. We're going to be generous. We're going to be charitable. We're going to be like Jesus because we're going to gather together, and we're going to have accountability. We're going to lift each other up. We're going to encourage one another. We're going to push one another on into Christ likeness, spur one another on. And we're going to be like Jesus in Sabbath, right? Sabbath is a big word. Where in this do you want to start?
Well, I was just gonna say we have put this out, and like John said, we had talked about this at the beginning of the year, and we've been practicing this rhythm during our weeks. So Tuesdays has been prayer and fasting. We've had Thursday serving, Saturday gathering, yes. Sunday as a Sabbath or rest day. But these aren't the only disciplines we could or should implement. They're just big ones that we hope as a community we can gather around and really put into practice to start our journey as disciples. And the question that kind of formulated this was, why or how can we encourage the church as a whole to become disciples?
Yeah.
And part of that is some sort of organization to your time that says, yes, I am making becoming like Jesus a priority. Because we can have a vague inclination to do that.
Yeah.
But unless we actually put time behind it, it's not going to happen. So I think we just want to talk through each of these briefly and share maybe what we do in our own lives or what we've heard other people are doing and how that will grow you as a disciple. And hopefully this discussion will encourage you to join us, if you haven't already, in making this weekly rhythm a part of your life.
Yeah. Well, let's just start from prayer and fasting on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
I know that a couple Sundays ago, we talked about that we were going to pray and fast for Everett, for Grayson, for Miranda, just different people in the church that are really just needing our prayer, for families going through it, for marriages. I hope that on that Tuesday we came together and prayed and we fasted. And you might be thinking, what is this prayer and fasting, and why should I do it? For me personally, or what would you say about prayer and fasting for you?
I think it's just great to have a day devoted to praying for specific needs that you know in the community, because you probably pray more than just on Tuesdays. You probably make that a priority in your life, but to have a day specifically set aside to have that as your number one priority is really helpful. That's because otherwise you just don't make time for it, except when maybe you get an email from someone or a text or hear about it in a service. But if you're actually intentionally thinking, this is the day, and for me, actually, what I do is me and my sister Abby every Tuesday pray together for the needs that we know in Hill City, usually in the afternoon. And it's just a time for us to focus all of our prayer on those specific needs.
Yeah.
As far as the fasting part goes, I struggle with fasting. So if there's anybody out there who struggles with that, I
Yeah.
do. Because food is like not my one joy in life, but I just love food. So it's really hard to feel deprived of something, which is so, I know somebody out there is laughing at me. It's a very first world problem. We are very blessed, and I know that I've never had to starve or struggle for food, and it shouldn't be a struggle for me, but it is. And so dedicating a time to actually combat that in my life is really, really important. I think maybe somebody out there needs to hear you can start small. You don't have to start with a whole day of fasting. You could start with one meal. You could start with a specific time period. There's lots of people who in actually different religious traditions will do, sunrise to sunset. Maybe it's just skipping lunch. Whatever the case, fasting as it relates specifically to meals, as long as you're not medically unable to do that, I want to make sure I make that caveat, it can be a really important practice to remind you that you are dependent on God and that He should be the true desire of your heart, so that when you're feeling hungry, you turn that time into a time of prayer. Lord, I'm feeling hungry right now, but these are the needs I know that are going on in the church. Lord, I know I'm hungry right now, but I want you as much as I want like that great meal I'm thinking about.
That's funny. That's exactly what I do.
Yeah.
I'm like, Lord, I'm hungry, but right now I want you more. I want you more. I need you to speak to me more. I need a move of God in my life more. We need an answer for these prayers more. And I find that on even this last Tuesday for me, it was a very holy day. There was a sense of God just the entire day. I can't tell you how many times I prayed that day, but it was just all day long praying to God, because every time I'm feeling hungry, I'm thinking about God, but I don't even feel really that hungry, but there is definitely a way more clarity for me when I'm fasting and a focus. And I think it's Dallas Willard, and I quote Willard all the time, but he says fasting is feasting. And it sounds so opposite, but it's it's that feasting on God. It's just that feeding that spiritual hunger, and it's also denying yourself, which is actually a really important practice. We need to say no to ourselves, and in this in our first world, and maybe for many of us, saying no to ourselves is hard, because we have so much power, right? We have so much power, we have so much authority, we have so much control that saying no to ourselves starts to become difficult. And when you don't say no to yourself long enough, pride can really crank up, because who should, and this is so American, the very first American value, I would say the highest American value, is our autonomy and individuality, right? I get to make the best choices for me, and God's like, no, you deny yourself. Blessed are the meek, right? Blessed are the meek. And you're like, oh man. And Jesus shows us on his way to the cross that in denying himself, taking up the cross, God could work through him. Yeah.
What about Thursday Serve? What have you been doing in your own life, or have you been doing as a community?
Well, as a community, I know many of you guys have been serving, but as a community, we've been serving at Urban Outreach. I know that Jen goes actually every week to Urban Outreach to do worship and to work with Jamie and Isaac on their vision for loving those who are marginalized, loving those who don't have. A lot of you guys came up with sleeping bags, clothes, service, food, donations, gift cards, socks, underwear. You guys have been so beautiful at being a part of serving. But I want us to serve every week, right? Serving people a meal, serving like buying someone a meal. That's something I like to do, and people are actually surprised by it because they're not expecting generosity anymore from anyone, even friendships. A lot of times, buying someone coffee, if you're in line at Starbucks, be generous, be charitable, be a ninja for Jesus, which means like do it in secrecy so that it's just between you and Jesus, and you guys can like laugh and just be together and say thank you, God, for the opportunity of this charity, opportunity of being generous. And I would say do more of secret giving. I do Secret Santa in May and in June and July, and they don't need to know. It could just be between you and God. And God will do a great work when we don't need the reciprocity of someone thanking us, so that because when we do, then we can feel a sense of authority or power, or you owe me. And when we do things in secrecy, especially generosity, love, encouragement, there's none of that, and you deny yourself that for the sake of someone else. So I think service has to be somewhere in our lives. I love to cook meals for people, and that's a good way to serve your family. That's a good way. Some people are saying that's all I do, right? Some dads and moms are like, that's literally all I do. Well, thank you for doing that, right? But and if that's all you do, maybe we teach someone else to do that as well.
Yeah, and I would just say, again, you might be thinking, well, we should be serving every day. Why do we have this weekly rhythm? You can use Thursday as a good reset reminder. This is the day. I seriously, set a reminder on your phone. This is the day Hill City as a community serves. Lord, what opportunity do you have for me specifically today to serve someone else? And I trust that God's going to present that unique opportunity to you if you pray that prayer.
That's so true.
So just set that reminder. There's so many creative ways people can serve. We know people in our own community who bring meals to people in need, who are, every time we have a meal train, it's like tickets for some really like exclusive concert. Those spots go quick.
That's true.
And that is so cool. But there's even more ways out there to serve. So ask God to present those opportunities for you to be generous with your money and time, to serve someone else in humility and maybe even secrecy. And I think God's going to present that opportunity to you. And if you do that one day a week, if you commit to pray that one day a week, your eyes are going to be open to needs throughout the rest of the week that He can use you uniquely and your family and your community to reach.
Yeah. And then on Saturday we gather. Saturday is our rhythm of gathering in house churches or gathering in large groups, and we come together right there on 120th. But make sure you gather. Like, do not isolate. I mean, COVID has really made isolation easy. And we're doing it right now as we're speaking online, and it's not a way to just like get this online content. Content is not enough. Content is not enough. I mean, you can get content from so many places, but you and I, we need each other. We are better together. Life is done better together, because when in isolation, when I'm isolated too long, I get so weird. And I start to just think my own thoughts as those are the only thoughts, and I'll bring it up in a group, and they'll be like, that's weird. Like, why? What made you think that way? It's like, it's because I've been alone too long. I've been thinking in my head too long. We need each other for that, and we need someone to direct us to the Word of God many times.
Yeah, and the church is not the people who stand up on a stage or speak in a microphone. It's not John or I or Jen or Candace or Julie or Mark or anybody else you could think of. The church is all of us.
Yeah.
So there's a priority to gathering together, whether you live in Colorado and it's summertime, I know that's a big thing, or not. It has to be part of our weekly rhythm to be disciplined to gather with other believers. And we as a church, have a very unique rhythm of doing a corporate gathering twice a month and doing smaller house church gatherings twice a month. So when you see online week on the schedule, it's not that it's online really, it's that these house churches are meeting, they're sharing their lives together, they're teaching each other's kids, they're eating together, they're confessing to each other, they're sharing each other's burdens, they're learning from the word together, they're worshiping together. All these things are incredibly important, and we want every person in Hill City to be a part of that.
Yes.
And if we haven't expressed that enough, I'm just saying it now. We want every single person in Hill City to be a part of a house church.
Yeah.
We don't know the dynamics of how that works out. We have 3 right now. We can't put every single person in, but there's somebody listening to this right now, I think, who could step forward as a host, who could step forward in leading, who could step forward to be more actively involved so that we can make house churches a multiplying opportunity for everyone who wants to call Hill City home.
Yeah, and maybe on Tuesday you would pray that prayer. Like, you don't need to pray Tuesday, I'm just saying. Why don't we pray that prayer? God, would you want me to do this?
Yeah.
And he'll tell you. Most likely, yes. He'll tell you, you know, and so that, you know, and we say you go to the house churches and be known there and serve, pray, and then finally on Sunday is a day of rest. It's a reminder to rest. It's a reminder to delight, to worship, to turn off your phones. Yeah. Just turn it off. I know it's really hard. I know it's easier to watch hours of YouTube or to entertain, like do entertainment, but pick a day where you are just relaxing, delighting, resting, and like no more producing. It's rest time.
And plan ahead for it. I mean, it's not just going to happen accidentally that you wake up on a Sunday morning and you feel super rested and ready, because you're going to have all those things in the back of your mind that you have to take care of first. Make sure the night before, if Sunday is going to be your day of rest with the Hill City community, that you take the time on Saturday night to say, I'm going to turn my phone off at this time. I'm not going to turn it back on till this time. I'm going to get my laundry done tonight so I don't worry about it tomorrow. I'm going to make sure that the kids have X, Y, and Z so that they know we're not going 500 places tomorrow. Just making a plan. For any people who are single out there, it might mean making a different plan than families and saying, like, who could I do this together with so tomorrow doesn't feel like this long, depressing day of like being antisocial.
Yeah.
So you have to make a unique plan for you to be what would bring you rest, what would bring delight, and what would draw you into worship of God.
Yeah. That's so good. And maybe it's like, I don't know, maybe for some families, like, you know, your heart is to open that door for someone who maybe doesn't have a family here. If that's how God's speaking to you, maybe you need to really listen to that and pray for that. That's really important too as a community. I just wrote here, you know, we're not trying weekly rhythms. We're training weekly rhythms, and trying is very different from training. And I just want to say, I just wrote here, don't do nothing. And I don't mean like on Sabbath. I mean like with our rhythms and disciplines of our life, we are either becoming more like Jesus, or we are either forming into Christ-likeness, or we're deforming away from Christ-likeness. And there is no middle ground. We are all becoming someone, right? Whoever that vision that we have placed there to become. And if we haven't thought enough about the vision of the person that we're becoming, and if we have not made that Christ, and you've heard me say this, there are companies that have spent billions of dollars to tell you who to become. Amazon has spent billions to tell us who to become. Like, I was talking in one of my classes today, and someone brought up that retail compulsion is up by $300 a month. That means families and people are spending $300 additional every month after COVID because of the inundation of like buying, this push. And it's not from nowhere, it's from somewhere. We have companies and things in our culture that is trying to form our soul, and weekly rhythms is a way to form it so that we are becoming like 10, 20 years from now, even 5 years from now, we look and we live more like Jesus.
I'm just encourage you guys, if you have no idea where to begin, if you want to know where to start, what would be some really simple steps to take to follow this weekly rhythm, please let us know. We really would like to help you do that. We can get together for coffee and talk about it. We can have a phone conversation. We can text, whatever you would like to do to just let us know, hey, I want to try out this weekly rhythm thing. I would like to see what it would be like in my life, and I need some help to know how to do that.
Yeah.
Let us know how we can help you.
You can always email us at info@myhillcity.org. That's info@myhillcity.org. But thank you for joining us. God bless you, and I hope that you are on rhythm with us into the image of Christ. God bless you guys.